When my fiancé and I bought our first house, we invited my parents over. My dad looked around and said, "So you finally out-earned us. Don't let it go to your head." A week later, I discovered they'd taken out a loan using my childhood SSN. When I called them, my mom said coldly, "It's not stealing. It's just payback for all the money we spent on you." So I filed charges. At Thanksgiving, no one would look me in the eye until the cops knocked at the door. I never thought I'd be the one to call the cops on my own parents. But here I am, writing this. I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We weren't poor, but we were always just getting by. My dad worked nights at a local machine shop. My mom worked at my school as a teacher's aide. I was an only child. They reminded me of that every time they were mad. "We sacrificed everything for you." As a kid, I believed them. I kept my head down. I didn't ask for things. I made honor roll. I never got in trouble, but praise wasn't something I ever got. If I brought home an A, my dad would say, "Try harder." An A+ exists for a reason. The second I turned 18, I left. Got into Purdue on a full ride. Worked part-time jobs, pulled all-nighters, and graduated with a logistics degree. I moved to Indianapolis, got a decent job, met Marcus. We dated for a couple years. We bought a house together last summer. A small fixer-upper in Carmel with a fenced backyard and a leaky garage, but it was ours. I was proud. For once, I felt like I had built something on my own. That's when I made the mistake of inviting my parents to see it. They drove in on a Sunday afternoon. I spent the day before cleaning every corner. I had snacks out, wine chilling, music playing. I wanted them to be proud of me, you know? The second they walked in, I knew I had messed up. My mom barely looked around. She muttered, "It's nice." My dad walked slowly through the living room into the kitchen, then looked at me and said, "So you finally out-earned us. Don't let it go to your head." I laughed it off, but it hit me hard. Marcus looked at me like, "Seriously?" I just shook my head. That was my dad. Always cutting people down. They left after 40 minutes. Didn't eat anything. Didn't sit. I told Marcus, whatever. I expected that. A week later, I got a letter in the mail from a credit union in Michigan. It said, "Thank you for your recent loan inquiry. Please confirm your address." I threw it out. I thought it was junk. Then I got another one. And another. From different places. Banks I'd never heard of. I called one, confused. Gave them my name. They asked for my social. I gave it. She paused. "Ma'am," she said, "this account was opened under a minor's profile. It's listed under your name, but the birth year is 2010. I froze. "That's my social security number," I said. She confirmed the address. It wasn't mine. It was my parents' old house. I hung up. I felt sick. Like my world had just tilted sideways. I went to the police that same day. The officer ran a report. He sat me down and said, "There are 5 open credit lines under your social. All opened in the last month. Totaling about $47,000. I started shaking. I called my mom. She answered on the second ring. "Hey," I said. "Did you take out loans in my name?" Silence. Then she said, cold and flat, "It's not stealing. It's just payback for all the money we spent on you." I didn't even know what to say. "Mom, that's illegal." She hung up. I sat there for almost an hour staring at the wall. Marcus came home and found me like that. When I told him, he looked like he wanted to drive straight to their house. We called a lawyer. Filed official reports. Put fraud alerts on everything. I had to close all my accounts, file affidavits, spend weeks on hold with different banks and agencies. It was hell. I filed charges. I didn't want to, but they had taken out federal loans using my identity. It crossed state lines. It was a felony. If I didn't report it, I'd be on the hook. Then Thanksgiving came. My cousin Melissa invited us to her house in Westfield. "Please come," she said. "It's family. Let's just have a nice day. I told her what happened. She didn't want to believe it. We went anyway. I don't know why. Maybe part of me still wanted anyone in my family to take my side. We walked in. My mom was already drinking wine. My dad sat near the window, not saying much. Nobody said hi. Nobody asked how I was. Melissa handed me a plate and whispered, "Let's just have a peaceful dinner." We sat, ate, talked about weather and football. Everyone avoided me, like I was diseased. Then there was a knock at the door. 2 uniformed cops stood outside. Cheryl and Dan Price, one asked. My mom looked up, startled. "We have a warrant for your arrest." Everything stopped. My dad stood. "You've got to be kidding." They weren't. They read them their rights. In front of the whole family. My mom looked at me. Not scared. Not sorry. Just blank. Like I was nothing to her. They cuffed them and walked them out. No one spoke. Finally, Melissa turned to me and said, "What the hell did you do?" I said, loud enough for the whole room. I told the truth. They committed fraud. They stole from me. Then Marcus and I left. After Thanksgiving, word spread fast. By Monday, my phone blew up with calls from family, most of them angry. My aunt left a voicemail screaming that I had destroyed my parents. My uncle sent me a long text calling me heartless and saying family handles things in private. Even Melissa, who had invited us to dinner, messaged me, "You humiliated them. I hope you're happy." Not one person asked if I was okay. I stopped answering calls. Blocked most of them. My dad's sister even posted about me on Facebook, called me a vengeful daughter who turned on her own blood. She didn't mention the part where my parents committed multiple felonies using their own child's identity. The worst part? My parents never tried to deny it. They admitted it during questioning. They even told the detectives that I owed them and that they didn't see what the big deal was. That made things easier for my lawyer, but harder for me to stomach. In court, my mom didn't look at me once. My dad did, just once. A long, slow stare like he didn't recognize me. Like I was a stranger. They both took plea deals to avoid more prison time. My dad pled guilty to identity theft and wire fraud. 14 months in federal custody. My mom got 9. Marcus stood by me through it all. God, I don't know how I would have gotten through without him. I cried some nights until I couldn't breathe. Not because they got arrested, but because they didn't care. They didn't feel bad. They felt entitled. The damage they caused? It wasn't just legal. My credit was wrecked. I couldn't even get approved for a new credit card for months. I had to put our wedding plans on hold. Marcus offered to cover everything, but I said no. I wanted to rebuild the right way. I didn't want any more debt. One day, about 3 months after Thanksgiving, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. It was my mom's lawyer. He said she wanted to talk to me. Why? I asked. I felt my stomach twist. She says it's important. I agreed. I don't know why. Maybe I still had some thread of hope she would say sorry. That she would finally see what she'd done. We met in the prison visitor room. She walked in with her hair pulled back, wearing a beige jumpsuit. She looked tired. Older, but not ashamed. She sat down across from me. "You look good," she said. I didn't respond. She leaned forward. "We didn't mean to hurt you." "Then what did you mean to do?" I asked. Her voice was calm, flat. "You owe us. You had a good life. We gave you everything." "You stole $47,000 from me," I said. "You wrecked my credit. You humiliated me. And you don't feel bad about it. You'll bounce back. You always do." I sat there, shaking. Was this the plan all along? I asked. "Did you save my social just to use it one day?" She didn't answer. That told me everything. I stood up to leave. She said one last thing. "You'll regret this when we're gone. Blood is blood." I didn't respond. I walked out of that prison and never looked back. But the story wasn't over. 2 months later, I got another surprise. Marcus and I were finally planning the wedding again. We had a date, a venue, everything lined up. I went to apply for a final credit check for our mortgage refinance, just to lower the interest rate. And the bank flagged something. Another loan. New. Taken out using my social. After the charges. After the plea deals. This one was under a fake name, but with my number. Opened 2 weeks earlier. In Chicago. The documents listed a business address. And the address? It belonged to my cousin's husband. Melissa's husband. I stared at the document for a long time. At first, I thought maybe it was a mistake. Maybe the system pulled the wrong info. But no, there it was in black and white. My social. A fake name. A business address in Chicago. And the name of the registered account holder. Greg Ard, Melissa's husband. I called the bank's fraud line and asked for everything they had. They sent over PDFs, the application form, the email used, the IP address, the digital signature. Everything pointed to Greg. I sat on the edge of our bed with the files in my lap, not saying anything. Marcus walked in and saw my face. What is it now? I handed him the paperwork. He read it in silence. Then he looked at me, eyebrows tight. What the hell is wrong with these people? I had no answer. I tried calling Melissa first. Not because I wanted to forgive anything, but because I wanted to hear how she'd try to explain this. She picked up after 2 rings. Hey, she said, cautious. Did you know Greg opened a loan using my social? Silence. Melissa, I said. I'm asking you directly. Her voice cracked a little. He said it was already ruined. That it wouldn't matter. That you'd never notice. I closed my eyes. Did you help him? I asked. I didn't stop him. She said it like it was nothing. Like apathy was better than action. You watched what my parents did to me, I said. You saw the police take them away. You saw what it cost me, and you let it happen again? I didn't want to fight with him, she said. And we needed the money. Our business is tanking. I just stared at the wall, stunned. We're family, she added, weakly. I hung up. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch, laptop open, filing another police report. Another fraud affidavit. I attached everything. I didn't even cry this time. I felt nothing. Just a dull, boiling pit in my chest. The next day, I got a call from the detective handling my case. He was the same guy who worked on my parents' case. When I explained the new situation, he groaned. Jesus Christ, he muttered. This is like a damn soap opera. He pulled the new reports, cross-checked the data, and confirmed it. Same IP as Greg's business. He said, we've got enough to move on this. Greg was arrested within a week. Melissa didn't show up at the arraignment. But her name got dragged into everything. She had known about the fraud. She hadn't reported it. She was named as a cooperating witness, but was also under review for potential charges. This time, nobody called me. No one defended them. Maybe because it was too much. Maybe because they were too embarrassed. At work, I kept my head down. I told HR what was happening, just in case someone tried to pull my credit again or show up pretending to be me. They were surprisingly kind. My manager even gave me a few days off, paid, to get your life back in order. I finally sat down with Marcus and said, we need to get the hell out of Indiana. He nodded without hesitation. We started looking at jobs and homes out of state, anywhere that didn't come with a past. But just as we were narrowing things down, I got an email. No subject line. No name. Just a message. You're not done yet. You still owe your family. This isn't over. It was sent from a burner email. Untraceable. My blood went cold. That email haunted me. It wasn't just a threat, it was a message. A warning. Someone close was still watching. Still waiting for me to cave. I forwarded the message to the detective and my lawyer. They both told me the same thing. This is personal. Someone wants to scare you into silence. But I wasn't scared anymore. I was angry. I paid for a private investigator. I wanted to know if anyone else in my family was involved. I gave him names: Melissa, her parents, cousins, even a few old family friends. 2 weeks later, he came back with a bombshell. Turns out, my parents had done this before. Back when I was in college, they had opened a small line of credit in my name, $2,000, just under the reporting limit. They paid it off, so I never noticed. They did it again 2 years later, same thing. My credit wasn't ruined back then, so I didn't suspect anything. They had been testing the waters. But here's the kicker: Melissa was in on it. She helped them set up one of the fake accounts using her business email years ago. She knew about it long before Greg got involved. She just kept her hands clean. Until now. I brought the report straight to the prosecutor. They reopened my parents' case and added conspiracy charges. Melissa got charged too. Obstruction, accessory to fraud, and failure to report a financial crime. Greg took a plea deal, agreed to testify against her. At Melissa's arraignment, she finally looked me in the eye. "Why are you doing this?" she hissed. "You've already ruined enough." I didn't answer. The judge denied her bail. She sat down hard, face pale, like it was finally sinking in. Nobody came to her defense this time. And then it all hit the news. Local stations picked it up. A story about a family ring of fraud. Parents and cousins stealing from their own child. My name wasn't listed, but people close to us knew. Neighbors whispered. Coworkers stared. But no one said a word to my face. Marcus and I packed up and left Indiana for good. We moved to Asheville, North Carolina. Smaller city, better people, clean break. New names on our mailbox. No family forwarding address. We got married in a small ceremony in the mountains. Just us, a few friends, and the sound of wind in the trees. It was peaceful. Safe. But here's the truth I had to face. Even after all of that, I made mistakes too. I ignored red flags. I stayed connected too long. I wanted their approval even when I knew they didn't deserve it. I thought if I worked hard enough, I could turn them into the kind of parents they never were. That was my mistake. The difference is I faced it. I took the hit. I started over. They didn't. Now, my mom is still in prison. She got hit with additional charges and won't be out for another 6 years. My dad got out a few months ago. He lives in a halfway house. He tried to send me a letter. I never opened it. Burned it in our fireplace. Melissa took a plea and got 3 years. Greg walked away with probation, but no job, no business, and no marriage. She filed for divorce from jail. And me? My credit is clean. My name is mine again. And the quiet we have now? It's not just peace. It's justice. Because sometimes, family isn't who you're born to. It's who doesn't steal your life out from under you. And sometimes, doing the right thing means standing alone at the table while the cops take everyone else away.